Wellington Mara always said, once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
Giants fans, welcome back to another episode of Only a Giant. Thanks so much for joining me. Obviously, if you could too, please like and subscribe. Trying to help grow the channel a little bit here and get a little bit bigger if we can here. Obviously, we're here to talk about the New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles game on Sunday. A little bit later than I wanted to get this out here, but still kind of a digesting the game, I guess, if you will, and just the overall state of the Giants right now at this point. And it's kind of grim. So, honestly, I took an extra day here because I wanted to let it sit in a little bit more and still see if I felt this way, just about the team and about everything in general. And shocker, I still do. So figure we'll talk about the game a little bit. Figure we'll talk about the Giants and kind of the state of the Giants right now and where I think we might be. And some alarming stuff as well with this game and kind of with the trajectory of this team right now. Obviously, Eagles won 28-3 at the Giants at the Giants Stadium here. Giants are now 2-5, 0-4 at home. 7 games into the season. We've had 4 home games, and we have not won one. We also haven't scored a touchdown. Daniel Jones hasn't scored a touchdown at Giants Stadium. Kind of crazy. I guess the first thing I want to get into before I get into stats or anything of that from the game is the general feel from this game. And obviously, we lost. There's no question about that. We know where we're at this point. We know we're 2-5. We're going into Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and unfortunately, that's going to be a tough game for us, I think. And it looks kind of grim. And the thing that I'm a little bit nervous about is I still do support Joe Shane. I do still think that Brian Daboll can be a good coach, but I think this is getting to kind of like a teetering point right now. Obviously, we lost the Eagles, and that to me, if you listen to the previous episodes, I was kind of excited for this game just to see like where the depth is on this team, to see if we're actually competing with teams at this point that we should compete with. And we got smacked right in the face. We did not compete with them. It was ugly. There was really no competition, to be completely honest with you. And at no point did I feel like we were dominating this game or anything of that nature. And losing is one thing, and the Giants can tolerate a losing season this year. I think ownership can tolerate a losing season. Obviously, we have Daniel Jones, that whole saga situation, whatever you want to call it. But what can't happen is the Giants turning into a laughing stock, and we're kind of getting to the point right now after that Eagles game where Bill Belichick's talking about he doesn't know what's going on with the Giants, talking about Saquon Barkley, talking this, talking that. I still have no issue with the Giants letting Saquon Barkley walk. Obviously, if they brought him back, I would have been fine. But I understand that, what he's doing with the Eagles right now is not what he would be doing with the Giants, to be completely honest with you. Would he be good on the Giants? Of course. He was a great player. But at the same time, was he, what's our record right now with him? We're 2-7 right now with him. Do we have an extra win? Maybe you could argue yes, but what? Yeah, I'm sorry, we're 2-5 right now. So what, 3-4 maybe? Is that changing anything? I don't think so. Nothing drastically, nothing drastic. So the Giants just can't lose and become a laughing stock at the same time. If we're losing, but the games are competitive, and you see at least some good things on tape, and it was a tight game, and we just barely lost. Players can I don't want to say accept that, because that's not what we're talking about here. But at the same time, players aren't going to get so discouraged, and ownership, I guess is more what I'm getting at, isn't going to be so quick to make snap judgments based off of being humiliated. But at this point, it's kind of getting to the point where the national media is kind of scoffing at the Giants, laughing at the Giants, saying that they're a bunch of buffoons and they don't know what they're doing. And if that continues, unfortunately, I think there's a good chance that Brian Dable gets fired. I think Joe Shane should still retain his job as a GM. I do still like a lot of things that he has done, but it's going to get dicey here moving forward. We have some tough games coming up, and if for example Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers, if that game goes sour, if that game goes bad quick, and we are not competitive in that game, boy, it's going to be a bad look. It's going to be scary as to see what happens. I'll get a little bit more into Monday Night Football here at the end. That's just my little 2 cents, my little rant here, where I am pretty nervous about the direction of this team at this point. I understand at this point we're probably not making the playoffs. I understand that we're not necessarily a quarterback away, but at the same time, I do think a quarterback um, could make this team better. Not saying we're going to do this, but though some rumors I've seen is like Matt Stafford coming to the Giants. Yeah, if he came here, I think he could solve a lot of issues. The offensive line still isn't great. Obviously, losing Andrew Thomas, and that's going to hurt. We'll see what happens at left tackle. I got to assume at this point they're going to move Illuminor over. I think you saw enough of Azudu at left tackle just in one game to say that experiment is not going to work for the Giants. So I think they got to make a change there, and we'll see what happens. But let's jump into stats, guys, and we'll start with the Giants. Obviously, Daniel Jones, 14 of 21, 99 yards. Drew Lock, 3 of 8, 6 yards. Daniel Jones was sacked 7 times. Drew Lock once. Quarterback for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 10 for 14, 114 yards with 1 touchdown as well. He was sacked 4 times. He did run the ball 7 times for 22 yards, had 2 rushing touchdowns, and Daniel Jones rushed 5 times for 20 yards. I think I'll break it down that way. We'll start with the quarterbacks. We'll talk about that a little bit. So Jalen Hurts, didn't look amazing, I would say. Didn't really have to do a lot, though, at the same time. Obviously they had a big touchdown throw on 4th down to A.J. Brown. I thought for the most part the defense did pretty well against him, though, otherwise. And a lot of this game really came down to the lack of offensive production on the Giants side. Over to the quarterback on the Giants side, like I talked about, Daniel Jones, 14 of 21, 99 yards. Looked atrocious. Really did not look good. Say what you will about Drew Lock. Yeah, he came in. Yeah, he fumbled the snap. He it didn't look great. Everything that we saw from Drew Lock. But at the same time, that throw to Jalen Hyatt down the sideline, Daniel Jones does not make that throw ever. Consistently, it just doesn't happen. And I've kind of been beating at this point the last couple of weeks here for a quarterback change. I'd love to see DeVito. But Drew Lock, I'd be happy with him too. And just for the sheer fact that I think we would actually take some chances. Yeah, there might be some interceptions, but the offense would be a little bit more productive, I think, with Drew Lock compared to Daniel Jones. I could be wrong. Who knows? It is what it is. At the end of the day, though, I do think Daniel Jones will be on a short leash this week, but we'll talk about that once we get through the stats. Rushing, Tyrone Tracy, 6 carries, 23 yards. Devin Singletary, 5 for 18. Eric Gray, 1 for 2. Philadelphia side, Saquon, 17 carries, 176 yards, 10.4 yards per carry with a touchdown. Obviously influenced a lot by the 55-yard touchdown run, or long run, I should say. Kenneth Gainwell, 13 carries, 56 yards. Will Shipley, 8 for 15. Now, we'll stick with the Giants for the moment, and then we'll jump over and talk about Barkley for a second. Tyrone Tracy, 6 carries, 23 yards. Really kind of frustrating that this offense did not get him the ball more early. First half, I think we rushed like 2 or 3 times or something absurd like that. Like, we need to commit to the run a little bit here. I understand being, wanting to get the passing game going, want to get Malik Neighbors some targets and stuff of that nature, but we need to get this running game going, so teams have to at least respect it. 2-3 carries in the first half, unacceptable. Especially, it's not like we're out of it right away. First quarter, nobody scored. It was 0-0. End of the half, 14-3, and we had a chance to try to punch it in and get a touchdown. We just didn't. Second half, we actually ran okay, I thought, but we need to get Tyrone Tracy the ball more early. We cannot let him carry the ball 6 times in a game. He needs 15 carries a game, and Devin Singletary should have 10 carries a game or something like that. Eric Gray can go kick rocks. He does not need any carries. He can stick with his receptions and wannabe pass protection, which I don't even know if he actually had any pass protection reps that game, but it's something that we need to do more of. Tyron Tracy needs the ball more. Saquon Barkley, obviously, we just talked about it for a second. 17 carries, 176 yards. Damn it, it's annoying that he did so good in this game. We bottled him up early for the most part, and I thought we did a decent job. Obviously, that 55-yard run was big, but he would still have 16 carries for 121 yards without that. So still ran really well. End of the day, the defense is a bend, don't break defense, but when your defense is on the field so much, it's going to break eventually. The offense needed to get something going and just could not do it for the Giants. So Philadelphia kind of committed to the run a little bit. They had 45 carries overall between everybody with 269 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry. That's a lot, especially when you throw in quarterback runs. Will Shipley's 8 for 15 yards with a 1.9 average. Pretty crazy. Over to the reception side of things, Malik Neighbors had 4 receptions for 41 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson, 6 catches for 23 yards. Pretty absurd right there. After that, Darius Slayton, 1 for 11. Bellinger, 1 for 11. Tyrone Tracy, 3 for 9. Eric Gray, 1 for 7. And Devin Singletary, 1 for 3. And 1 target for Jalen Hyatt as well, which resulted in some cracked ribs. Eagles side, A.J. Brown, 5 for 89. I think pretty much every target. Yeah, he was targeted 5 times. He caught every target. Kenneth Gainwell, 1 for 11. Saquon, 2 for 11. Grant Cucatero, 1 for 5. For the Giants, obviously, you want to get Malik Neighbors the ball more. He was open. There was quite a few throws missed to Darius Slayton as well. I think he had a drop mixed in there. But at the same time, a wide open throw over the middle where how embarrassing is it that you have your number 1 wide receiver, a rookie wide receiver nonetheless, running a route and pointing back at Darius Slayton and be like, yo, he's open. Daniel Jones, throw it to him. Of course, Daniel Jones throws to him late. It's behind him. Could Slayton have caught the ball? Yeah. But it wasn't a good throw. That's not on Darius Slayton. That's on Daniel Jones. Let's be real. Malik Neighbors after the game said, look at the target tape. I was open in the first half. He was. We do have to get him the ball more than 4 times in the game. 8 targets, probably a little bit low as well, considering Wan'Dale was targeted 9 times. He shouldn't ever be targeted more than Malik Neighbors. I'm good with like that. 12 to 15 probably targets for Malik Neighbors. But we need to get this offense going more than what we have. And I do think part of that is the run game that we just would not commit to. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they didn't do a lot in the passing game, I would say. Didn't have a lot of attempts either, but they didn't need to. People have kind of been talking about A.J. Brown being shut down by Deonte Banks. I don't really look at it that way. I look at 5 targets and 5 catches and 89 yards for a touchdown. Now, granted, one was a long catch, and that I don't believe was on McLeod, so that wasn't on Deonte Banks. But he looked okay, Banks did, other than the lack of effort on a few plays, which obviously you don't like to see. One thing I did like to see, Devonta Smith, 1 catch, -2 yards. So I believe that was a play that was blown up by Drew Phillips, who shot out of a cannon, is playing great. Someone I'm definitely excited about. Defensively, we'll start with the Giants, and Tyler Nubin led the Giants with tackles with 9. 4 of them being solo. Okereke had 6. Banks had 6. Raheem had 6. Raheem Nunez-Roches. Other than that, really, you look at the main things. Sacks, Dexter Lawrence had 2. Brian Burns had 1. Aziz had 1. Giants ended up with 5 sacks overall. And the Philadelphia Eagles had 8 sacks, so definitely a little bit more here. Nakobe Dean had 2, Jalen Carter had 2, Nolan Smith had 1, Bryce Huff had 1, who hasn't done anything all year for the Eagles, and he had 1 against us. Josh Sweat had 1, and Jalix Hunt had a sack as well. Giants defense. Let's talk about that. I don't really care about the Eagles defense at this point. I think the Eagles defense played well, but really this story I think more talks about the Giants offense more than anything. So let's talk about the Giants defense for the moment. 28 points. You don't like to see that. But at the end of the day, honestly, I'm not really that upset with the Giants defense. I think they did what they could do in this game. But when your offense is not scoring points, what are you going to do? When you're not establishing drives, what are you going to do? it's really hard to win games that way. It's virtually impossible, to be completely honest with you, to have an offense not be able to put up points and expect to keep the other offense in line the whole game. Eagles had the ball for 35 minutes. Giants had the ball for 24 minutes. So that's kind of the story right there. What else are you going to say? The defense, I think, played well for the most part. Obviously, the run game probably a little bit of a lack, but at the same time, a lot of that came in the second half. What are you going to do? Giants offensively was just pathetic. I thought the Giants defense held up their side of it. It's a shame that this defense isn't getting recognized for being as good as they have been playing. Drew Phillips is getting a little love. He's been flying all over the place. I don't know why he isn't playing 100% of the snaps at this point. Guy's a baller, making plays everywhere. Isaiah Simmons, love you, but I think that Drew Phillips should be taking those snaps away from Isaiah Simmons. Tyler Newbin been playing great as well. Everyone wants to talk about Saquon Barkley and Xavier from last year, and what would McKinney be doing here this year, different from what Newbin's doing? He's not leading the league in interceptions on the Giants. Giants have one freaking interception this year. So is McKinney as good on the Giants this year? I mean, maybe he's good, but he's not doing what he's doing in Green Bay for the Giants, I don't think, personally. And I think Tyler Newbin's been doing enough to be a pretty good player for the Giants, especially as a rookie. So future's looking bright for him. Future's looking bright for Drew Phillips. Obviously Malik, and even Theo Johnson. Had a touchdown catch called back. Just a tiny bit of a push off. I think that could have easily not been called. If you listen to anybody else, clearly the push off was just a little high, and he had to keep it low, and that was kind of an issue in college for him. So something that needs to be corrected a little bit, but. Future's looking bright for those guys, and I am fairly excited about what we're seeing out of this rookie class. So that's the stats, guys. Just overall feel of this game. Obviously putrid. What else are you gonna say? A game that you expected. I didn't expect to win this game. I wanted to win the game. I think my prediction was like 20-12 or something like that, or I don't remember exactly. But a game that I didn't think we would win. End of the day, but I wanted to be competitive in this game, and the fact that we got blown out 28-3 really does not sit well with me. And kind of like I talked about earlier in this episode, there's some real concern moving forward here. Pittsburgh Steelers, if we're not competitive in that game, that's gonna really question what the Giants are gonna do moving forward. If Brian Daboll is gonna continue to be the coach of the Giants. We'll see. But let's talk about that Monday Night Football game coming up here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A game where I truly think that Daniel Jones is on the hot seat. I think Brian Daboll saying that he was trying to create a spark, even though he's kind of played it down since, means something. You don't take your starting quarterback out to create a spark. So what I think at this point, what this means. And I think the fact that Daboll mentioned explosive plays and the fact that he's called them and go back go back to the drawing board and try to hit him is a statement to Daniel Jones that, hey man, if I don't see enough out of you in the first half of this game, you're getting benched. And there really is a quarterback controversy at this point. Whether that's Drew Lock, whether you want to create another spark by bringing in Tommy DeVito, I don't know. I would love to see DeVito personally. But I'd be happy with either at this point, to be completely honest with you. If a backup quarterback does come in this game, if it's Drew Lock, if it's Tommy DeVito, don't judge too much on this game. Once again, I've heard a couple of people say this as well. No practice reps with the first team for any of these backup quarterbacks. Maybe they get a little bit more reps this week. I don't know. I doubt it personally, but if there ends up being a change in the starter, judge them based off when they're actually getting reps with the first team. Drew Lock, didn't come in and do anything crazy, but the ball came out hot out of his hand, looked good. Definitely would be okay with that. And Tommy DeVito with at least a better offensive line than last year, albeit no Andrew Thomas. Hopefully one of those two can come in and do something. So Pittsburgh Steelers this week, guys. We'll probably have an episode out on Thursday or Friday to talk about it and give you a little bit of a preview of what I think may happen. End of the day, I'm very nervous for this game. It sucks. It really sucks to have a Monday Night Football game and not feel good about it. Not be excited about a Monday Night Football. We should be excited for these games, and I'm dreading it. To be completely honest with you, I don't want this to be a Monday night game. Damn, that's sad. Man, that really kind of hurts. That really grinds my gears, if you will. That's all I got for us today, guys. End of the day, let's go Giants. Still gonna root for the team. Still, if Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback, I'm gonna hope for the best. But at the same time, I just don't have high hopes for him. End of the day, though, let's go Big Blue. Let's talk next week. If you could, once again, please like and subscribe. Returning listeners, if you're still with me at this point, really appreciate it. Appreciate the support, and hopefully we continue to grow. And new listeners, maybe you haven't listened to me before. Thanks so much for checking me out. Give me a thumbs up down below if you could, and we'll go from there. Let's go Big Blue.